Alright, so this is a video I basically made for Greg, who told me he couldn't get to the moon and land. So I made a landing like a boss tutorial. So I started out making a rocket. You always want to have an advanced SAS controller on there. That thing will keep you very, very stable. And as you'll see, it's pretty helpful in landing perfectly on the moon. Slap a couple rockets on this biznatch. The nuclear engine is the most efficient. It's not necessarily the most powerful, so I don't use them as my lifting engines, but I do use them as my control and space engines. As far as lift goes, you're gonna want like solid stage or solid boosters to get you out of the atmosphere. And right now I'm making my second stage, which will basically get me through the upper atmosphere and into orbit. So I put the struts on it to make it nice and stable. Check and make sure they all attached. Nothing funky going on with them. Here's where I decide how many solid boosters to strap on this thing. I figure, I don't know, that's quite a bit of tanks. I don't usually use this symmetry. I only use the 4 or 3 symmetry. So I have second thoughts here, and then I go ahead and move them off to the side. I just kind of eyeball it, but it actually turns out pretty good. So. Man, does it really take me this long to make a ship? Man, I thought it was like 5 seconds. Anyways, so I figure, yeah, it probably looks about good. Put a couple struts on it. We'll say it's ready for space. It's probably not, but you know, whatever. This was a test. I was just recording just because, but it actually turned out pretty good. Oh yeah, something to keep you stable while you're still in the atmosphere and you're breaking things off. It's pretty necessary. Is wings. I mean, you don't have to use them if you're pretty smart about balancing your ship. I mean, this ship is pretty well balanced, but I still don't trust it with all those solid state boosters on it. So everything looks good. I just check my stages real quick, make sure all my decouplers decouple at the right time, all my engines fire at the right time, and finally I want the middle engine to be the last one that fires. So I figure we're about ready. Go ahead and press the launch button. It takes a little bit to load. So finally loaded. Took a minute because I'm trying to record and play this game at the same exact time. Throttle all the way up, turn your SAS on. Oh, you do that by pressing T, and then it takes a minute to get into space. So yeah, it's gonna take a minute. See, the reason I put these giant ass engines on is not really to get me going fast. It's to get me through the really cushy inner atmosphere. I mean, that thing is, once you get past the light blue up there, it's pretty easy to get going fast. But when you're inside of it, it's, I mean, the maximum you're ever gonna go is like 300 meters a second. So just about out of it. Which is good. You always want your first stage to burn out right before or after you break the light blue. So here goes the second stage. Hopefully this will get me all the way past the lighter blue and the dark blue there, and all the way into space. So I go ahead here and tip myself sideways. Try to get a good orbit going. This is the way the moon rotates around the Earth. So I head that way. Try to level out my my velocity there. See, because we're going up fast enough, and I'm trying to get over now, so I can get a nice clean circular orbit. And you do that by you saw the gimbal there. You tilt it to where It's right between orange and blue, and what that does is it makes it perpendicular, or not perpendicular, parallel with the Earth's surface, so that way you can make a nice circular orbit instead of being all over the place. Another good way to do that is to wait till you reach your AP, your apoptosis, and I mean, I get kind of close here, and I'm like, to hell with it. I'm going for the moon. It's not like I'm reaching for Mars. It doesn't have to be exact. So I get there, and then you'll see that your trajectory, the yellow bubble there inside of your gimbal, is right on that line. So I go ahead and line that up, fire again, see if I can get myself a nice circular orbit. And then I run out of fuel on my second stage, which kind of sucks because I was close, but not that close. So get rid of that, fire my first stage, and because that's a really efficient and not necessarily powerful engine, it takes a minute. I kind of wish I had strapped a little bit more power onto this thing, but it ends up saving me later because when I use up most of the fuel in those tanks, it gets lighter, and I come down on the moon nice and easy. But I mean, you could have done it without the without having to waste all your fuel. It's definitely possible. I found the best way to get to something that's far away is to push your AP about half the way to it, especially if you're not certain you're going to line your orbit up with it, and that'll make you orbit about 4 times faster than the thing you're getting to will orbit, and that's good for catching up. See, right now we're on opposite sides of Kerbin. That's really bad. I picked like the most inopportune time to launch, really. So I'll push it out, try to get maybe most of the way there. I stopped paying attention to my gimbal. I'm not level anymore. I don't know what I'm trying to do really. I guess I was just sitting there watching it. Now you'll also notice, like in the background, there's that purple line. That's Minmus. That's the really hard moon to get to. I mean, it's got practically 0 gravity. It's a little bumpy asteroid that kind of floats around Kerbin way out there. To get to that, you really have to mess with your gimbal to get it to point up and down. You do that by pointing at 180 south or 0 north. So I kind of get close, and I'm like, alright, well, since I'm that close already, all you have to do is kind of aim your trajectory to where it's going to be level with the Earth again, because I want to push my orbit out, and I want to do that on the same degree that my trajectory is already on. So I aim for the nice level parallel with the Earth's surface, and then kind of give it a go. I'm going to push my orbit out just about as far as I can. I'm trying to watch my fuel here too, because I didn't exactly bring a lot with me. I didn't plan on this being the one trip to the moon that I was certain it was going to make it. If I didn't make it with this, I was just going to switch video and make another one with my lander. So I push my orbit out, and then what you're going to look for is when you get close to the moon lining up,